Hello everyone, good to see you on Warren's Everyday English. Today we're going to go over expressions we use when we talk about driving. Driving is a big part of many people's daily life, and when we drive, there are a lot of unique expressions and phrases we use. And these expressions are not necessarily used just from driving, but you can also be a passenger in a car, and these expressions will be commonly used. I'm going to first go over the story and scenario and then break down each expression and phrase being used. So let's begin, shall we? It was a busy Friday evening and I was on my way home from work. I was driving down the main road when I noticed a lot of traffic ahead. I knew I had to make it home in time for dinner, so I tried to keep right as the right lane was empty and I sped up. However, I accidentally ran a red light and I saw a police car in my rear view mirror. I quickly pulled over and waited for the officer to come to my car. The officer asked for my license and registration, and I realized that I had left my wallet at work. I explained the situation to the officer, and he let me off with a warning. I decided to take the next exit and turn around to head back to my office to get my wallet. However, I made a wrong turn and ended up in a residential area. As I was pulling into a driveway to turn around, I heard a loud sound. I had gotten into a fender bender with a parked car. I left a note on the windshield with my contact information and decided to head back to work. So let's break down these sentences. It was a busy Friday evening and I was on my way home from work. So in this sentence, on my way home is a frequently used expression meaning that you are going to a certain location, in this case, my home. You could also simply say, I was going home. So using this expression, you might say, for example, I was on my way to my friend's house, or I was on my way to the doctor's office. In many cases, we can also use on my way to combine situations or scenarios. So for instance, on my way to work, I saw a rainbow in the sky. Or, on my way home from work, I stopped by the supermarket, which means that while I was returning to my house, I made a stop at the supermarket. So here, I'm saying that on a busy Friday evening, I was driving home from work. I was driving down the main road when I noticed a lot of traffic ahead. The expression a lot of traffic means that there are a lot of cars crowding the road. Many times, there is a lot of traffic when there is a car accident or when it's rush hour. So rush hour is the time period right around when everyone finishes work and they all try to drive back home. So in this sentence, I'm stating that I was driving down the main road when I noticed up ahead there were a lot of cars congesting the road, causing the traffic to slow down. I knew I had to make it home in time for dinner, so I tried to keep right as the right lane was empty and sped up. The expression keep right means to stay on the right side. So in the instance where you are in a 3-lane highway, for example, keeping right would mean to stay on the lane all the way to the right. Another scenario could be if you're driving down a road and the road forks into 2 ways, left and right. So keeping right would mean to go towards the right road. Another expression we could use in place of this is stay on the right. So in this sentence, I didn't want to be late for dinner, so I tried to stay on the right-hand lane and go faster. However, I accidentally ran a red light and I saw a police car in my rear view mirror. The expression ran a red light or ran through a red light means that you passed a red traffic light without stopping as required by law. As ran means that you passed without stopping, you could also use it for other driving scenarios, such as ran a stop sign. So I'm saying mistakenly, I passed a red traffic light without stopping and saw a police car in my rearview mirror pulling me over. I quickly pulled over and waited for the officer to come to my car. Pulled over means to stop the car, or in the scenario where you're on a road, meaning to stop on the side of the road. When it comes to driving or being in a car, the phrase pull over has a lot of various meanings. If a police officer turns his sirens and lights on behind you, he is pulling you over. And then you might say to your friends afterwards, yeah, I got pulled over by a cop today. Another scenario could be that you are in the back seat of a taxi or Uber and you tell the driver, you can pull over here, meaning to stop the car here. So in this sentence, I quickly stopped my car on the side of the road and waited for the officer to come to my car. The officer asked for my license and registration, and I realized that I had left my wallet at work. I explained the situation to the officer, and he let me off with a warning. So in this situation, let me off is a phrase that means to excuse or forgive someone for the actions or wrongdoing without imposing a punishment or penalty. In this scenario, the officer understood the situation and chose not to issue a ticket or take any further action against the individual, despite their mistake of forgetting their wallet. Instead, the officer gave a verbal warning, reminding the person to be more careful in the future. I decided to take the next exit and turn around to head back to my office to get my wallet. So here, turn around means to go back in the opposite direction you came from. So for instance, if you were driving from point A to point B, but along the way you turned around, that would mean driving back to point A. Another phrase we can use is to go back. So some examples, for instance, I was going to work when I realized I left my laptop at home, so I had to turn around. Or, I was going to work when I realized I left my laptop at home, I had to go back. So in this sentence, it's saying I decided to take the next exit and go back to my office to get my wallet. However, I made a wrong turn and ended up in a residential area. Here, the expression made a wrong turn means that the street or road you turned onto was not the correct street or road. So this means that you took a route or direction that is incorrect or unintended, resulting in straying from the intended or desired path. It often occurs when someone is driving or navigating and accidentally chooses a road or direction that leads them away from their intended destination. Sometimes people also say, I got onto the wrong road or street. So in this sentence, we are saying I turned onto the incorrect street or road and ended up in a residential area. As I was pulling into a driveway to turn around, I heard a loud sound. Pull into generally refers to the action of moving or steering a vehicle into a particular location or area. It implies bringing the vehicle closer to a specific spot, often with the intention of parking, stopping, or reaching a destination. And just for reference, a driveway is usually located near or directly in front of the house or building. When someone pulls into the driveway, they are maneuvering their vehicle off the main road and onto the private driveway. So here, we're saying I turned onto a driveway so that I could turn around and drive back towards my office when I heard a loud noise. I had gotten into a fender bender with a parked car. I left a note on the windshield with my contact information and decided to head back to work. So a fender bender is what we use when we want to describe a minor car accident. Perhaps, your car bumped into someone's back of the car. This is not a major accident and the damages are typically minor. So here are some examples. I need to take my car to the repair shop to fix the dents from the fender bender caused by a driver who was texting and didn't notice the red light. I was running late for work because I got caught in a fender bender on the way. The accident happened when the driver in front of me suddenly stopped the car. So here, we're saying that I had gotten into a minor car accident with a car that was parked. So we covered a lot of useful expressions we use when we talk about driving. These can be used when you're the driver or when you're the passenger in a vehicle. As there are a lot of other useful expressions we use when we drive, we will cover other driving expressions in another video. I hope you've learned a lot today, and as always, I'll see you in the next video. Take care, everyone.